In the world of high-stakes finance, we often distinguish between top-line growth and net profitability. The same logic applies to your personal life. To understand why some people are perpetually stressed despite high salaries while others remain unshakably calm on half the income, we must look at two identical apartments in the same city. The first belongs to a professional earning $95,000. On paper, they are a success. Yet, their home is a graveyard of underutilized capital. It is filled with $4,000 leather sectionals, oversized televisions, and closets overflowing with clothes still bearing their price tags. This individual suffers from lifestyle entropy, a state where every dollar earned is immediately consumed to maintain the gravity of their possessions. They aren't rich, they are merely a high-volume pass-through for their employer's cash. They check their bank account with a knot in their stomach because they are exactly 2 paychecks away from a total systemic collapse. The second apartment belongs to someone earning $52,000. Here, you find the mental model of the margin of safety. The space is intentional, not empty. Every tool in the kitchen is used. Every garment in the closet is worn. This person isn't practicing deprivation. They are practicing capital efficiency. Despite earning nearly 50% less than their neighbor, they possess 10 times the financial security. With 18 months of expenses in liquid reserves and a consistent 20% investment rate, they have achieved something the high earner hasn't: financial margin. This is the hidden relationship between stuff and sovereignty. The first person has allowed their possessions to become a fixed overhead that dictates their life. The second person has used minimalism as a structural tool to decouple their happiness from their consumption. In the following sections, we will move beyond the anecdote and analyze the rigorous rules of minimalist money management that allow you to build an impenetrable fortress of wealth, regardless of your current tax bracket. In professional asset management, we never look at the purchase price in isolation. We analyze the total cost of ownership, TCO. Most consumers, however, are blinded by the sticker price, failing to realize that everything you own costs you money twice. The first cost is the transaction. The second cost is the ongoing maintenance of existence. Let's apply full lifecycle costing to the average household. Every object you bring into your home requires real estate. In a major urban center, you might pay $30 to $50 per square foot annually in rent or mortgage costs. That treadmill gathering dust in the corner occupies 20 square feet of clearance space. Effectively, you are paying a $1,000 annual storage tax to house a piece of equipment you don't use. Over 5 years, that cheap $800 treadmill has actually cost you $5,800 in implicit rent. But the leak goes deeper than just physical space. It extends to mechanical and mental entropy. A $30,000 boat sitting in a driveway is a masterclass in wealth destruction. Between winterization, insurance, registration, and the industry standard 10% annual maintenance rule, that asset is siphoning $3,000 out of your net worth every year, even if it never touches the water. Perhaps the most insidious second cost is the cognitive tax. Behavioral researchers have discovered a direct correlation between visual clutter and elevated cortisol levels. Every item you own occupies a small slice of your cognitive bandwidth. It must be organized, cleaned, protected, and eventually disposed of. You are not just owning a possession. You are managing a liability that actively reduces your brain's ability to focus on high-leverage, wealth-generating activities. Finally, we must account for the opportunity cost of capital. Every $1,000 locked in a depreciating asset, like a home gym or a luxury wardrobe, is $1,000 that isn't compounding in an index fund. That $15,000 lifestyle upgrade today is actually a $50,000 theft from your future retirement. Minimalists are not anti-consumption. They are pro-efficiency. They have calculated that for most objects, the second cost far outweighs the initial utility. They understand that the lightest way to travel through a financial career is to own nothing that doesn't provide a massive, measurable return on your life. To escape the trap of emotional spending, we must transition from impulse buying to algorithmic purchasing. As a value investor, you don't look at whether you like an asset, you look at the yield. In personal finance, that yield is measured by a mental model called cost per use, CPU. This is the only honest metric of value. The math is simple. Divide the purchase price by the realistic number of times you will use the item. This calculation instantly destroys the marketing allure of most status goods. A $300 specialized kitchen gadget used twice a year costs you $150 per use, an absurdly inefficient allocation of capital. Conversely, a $2,000 high-quality mattress used every night for a decade costs roughly 55 cents per use. Despite the higher upfront cost, the mattress is the superior investment because it provides a massive return on your health and energy every single day. The goal of the CPU model is to reveal the utility to cost ratio. It teaches you that expensive is not a synonym for bad value, and cheap is often a synonym for expensive trash. Minimalists invest heavily in the few things they use daily: their laptops, their shoes, their beds, while ruthlessly cutting spending on everything else. But what about the objects already cluttering your balance sheet? For this, we apply the replacement test. Walk through your home and look at every possession through a forensic lens. Ask yourself, if this item disappeared in a fire today, would I spend my hard-earned cash to replace it? Be brutally honest. For most of us, 60% of our belongings would fail this test. They exist in our lives not because they provide value, but through status quo, bias, and inertia. They are remnants of past hobbies, impulsive versions of ourselves, or gifts we keep out of misplaced guilt. These items are negative value assets. They consume your physical space and mental RAM without providing a corresponding benefit. Minimalists understand that every hour spent organizing, cleaning, or thinking about an item you wouldn't repurchase is an hour stolen from your future. By eliminating everything that fails the replacement test, you perform a capital restructuring of your life. You aren't losing stuff. You are gaining mental margin. You are clearing the runway so that your financial decisions can finally take flight. In the field of behavioral economics, we recognize that willpower is a finite and depreciating asset. It is at its peak in the morning and evaporates by the time you're tired, stressed, or scrolling through your phone at 10 p.m. Relying on self-discipline to save money is a failed strategy. Instead, the secretly stable apply the mental model of choice architecture. They engineer their environment so that the right decision is the only decision. To stop the bleeding of capital, you must intentionally design structural friction into your spending habits. Friction is anything that slows down the transition from desire to transaction. Start by de-automating your consumption. Delete your saved credit card information from online retailers. Uninstall shopping apps that send you predatory, one-day-only notifications. Unsubscribe from promotional emails that are designed to trigger a dopamine response. By forcing yourself to physically find your wallet and type in 16 digits, you create a cognitive speed bump. This pause allows your prefrontal cortex, the rational part of your brain, to catch up with your emotional impulses. Implement a mandatory 2-4-hour waiting rule for any non-essential purchase. You will find that 70% of the things you needed on Tuesday feel utterly irrelevant by Wednesday. Conversely, you must create ease of flow for your savings. The most successful investors treat their savings as a fixed expense, not a leftover at the end of the month. Automate your transfers to your brokerage and retirement accounts to occur the moment your paycheck hits. If you never see the money in your checking account, you never develop the psychological ownership of it, and you don't feel the sting of loss when it's invested. By making saving the path of least resistance, you remove the burden of choice. You aren't deciding to be responsible every month. You've built a system that is responsible for you. Minimalists don't have more willpower than you. They simply have a better designed environment. They've made it difficult to be impulsive and effortless to be wealthy. In systems thinking, we understand that no component exists in isolation. Every action triggers a ripple effect throughout the entire structure. When applied to personal finance, this is known as the Lifestyle Multiplier Effect. A major purchase is never a single event. It is the acquisition of an entire ecosystem of expenses that you are now obligated to fund. Most consumers fall into the trap of linear accounting. They see a boat for $30,000 and think the cost is $30,000. But the boat is merely the nucleus of a new, high-maintenance lifestyle. To operate that boat, you now need a trailer. To pull that trailer, you need a vehicle with a higher towing capacity. You need a specialized storage lease, marine insurance, safety gear, and a constant stream of maintenance supplies. The $30,000 investment has effectively multiplied into a $50,000 life cycle commitment. This multiplier effect is why high earners often feel strapped. They haven't just bought nice things. They have built a complex infrastructure of supporting liabilities. A larger home requires more furniture, higher utility outputs, more intensive landscaping, and specialized cleaning services. A high-end European car requires specialized technicians and premium parts. Every upgrade creates a new floor of fixed overhead that you can never drop below. Minimalists apply forensic financial planning before any major acquisition. They map out the cascade of related costs. If the secondary and tertiary expenses outweigh the primary utility, they reject the purchase. They understand that by avoiding the nucleus, they eliminate the entire ecosystem of debt and distraction that follows. The beauty of the multiplier effect is that it also works in reverse. Eliminating one major possession like a secondary vehicle or an oversized house doesn't just save you the monthly payment, it collapses an entire category of insurance, maintenance, and mental labor. You aren't just cutting a cost, you are dismantling a system of wealth destruction. By refusing to let your possessions multiply, You keep your financial life lean and agile, ensuring that your capital remains focused on growth rather than the maintenance of an expensive, immobile ecosystem. The most dangerous phrase in the English language for a wealth builder is just a little bit more. In finance, this is known as hedonic adaptation, the tendency for humans to quickly return to a stable level of happiness despite major positive changes in fortune. Without a predefined mental model of enough, your lifestyle will inevitably expand to consume your income regardless of how many promotions you secure. Most high earners are running a race with no finish line. They earn $100,000 and live on $95,000. They get promoted to $200,000, and suddenly, the standard of living dictates a $190,000 lifestyle. This is lifestyle creep, a systemic failure to capture the surplus of your labor. You are working harder, yet your financial margin remains identical. You have traded your increased market value for more expensive stuff, effectively keeping yourself in a state of high-income poverty. Minimalists break this cycle by establishing a structural ceiling. They define what enough looks like before the next pay raise arrives. They decide in advance what size of home is sufficient, what level of transportation is reliable, and what quality of wardrobe is professional. When their income increases, the ceiling stays put. This creates a widening spread, a massive delta between earning and spending that flows entirely into wealth-building assets. This brings us to the ultimate metric of success: optionality. In investment terms, an option is the right, but not the obligation, to take an action. In life, optionality is the ability to say no. It is the wealth that allows you to walk away from a toxic boss, to take a 6-month sabbatical for your health, or to pivot into a lower-paying but more fulfilling career. The person earning $200,000 with a $195,000 burn rate has zero optionality. They are a slave to their overhead. The person earning $80,000 who has mastered enough at $45,000 possesses absolute sovereignty. Every time you choose not to upgrade your lifestyle, you are purchasing a call option on your future freedom. You are trading a depreciating physical possession for a liquid resource that buys you the power to make choices based on preference rather than desperation. True wealth isn't about what you can buy. It's about what you can refuse to do. By defining enough, you stop running the treadmill of accumulation and start building a fortress of autonomy. You don't just have money, you have your life back. The transition from a life of accumulation to a life of optionality is not an overnight event. It is a re-engineering of the virtuous cycle. As a financial analyst, I don't look for quick wins, I look for sustainable systems. When you apply the rules of minimalism, you trigger a positive feedback loop. Spending less creates a surplus. That surplus builds security. And security, ironically, destroys the psychological urge to buy things to feel successful. To begin this 5-year transformation, you must move from theory to forensic execution. This week, perform the replacement test on your home. Identify 10 items that serve no purpose and cost you mental rent. Remove them. Notice the immediate reduction in your cognitive load. This month, implement structural friction. Delete the apps and set the 2-4-hour rule. You aren't just saving money. You are retraining your brain's dopamine pathways to favor long-term rewards over instant gratification. Within a quarter, perform a possession audit in one high-clutter category, like clothing or electronics. Set a permanent ceiling on how many items you are allowed to own. By creating these artificial constraints, you force yourself to prioritize quality over quantity, a core principle of value investing. As the years progress, you will notice a profound shift. The gap between your income and your enough will widen into a chasm of wealth. You will no longer measure your success by the square footage of your house, but by the months of freedom in your bank account. You will realize that the $95,000 earner we met at the beginning was actually poorer than the $52,000 earner, because they lacked the one thing money is supposed to buy: peace. Minimalism is the ultimate alpha strategy in personal finance. It allows you to outperform high earners while living a life of higher quality and lower stress. The choice is yours. You can own a museum of past impulses, or you can own your future. Stop being a custodian for your stuff and start being the architect of your freedom. Your sovereignty starts the moment you decide that you have enough. The Minimalist Money Rules, detailed in this series, represent a capital allocation strategy designed for maximum economic agility. In an era of high volatility, the most dangerous position an investor can hold is one of high fixed overhead. By adopting a lean lifestyle, the individual effectively lowers their break-even point, allowing them to survive market downturns and capitalize on distressed opportunities that house-poor individuals must ignore. The takeaway is clear. In the 2026 economy, liquidity is the ultimate status symbol. If you are unable to pivot your life within 24 hours because of the physical and financial weight of your possessions, you are not wealthy. You are an asset-rich, cash-poor prisoner of your own making. True wealth is the ability to walk away, and that ability is only granted to those who refuse to be owned by what they own.